welcome to the Monday, November 1st, 2021 Wastewater Committee meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order, and please stand with me and pledge the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll. Councilman Ratton.
Present. Councilman Adlin.
He's not. Councilman Epperson here.
Epperson.
There's two of us here.
Two of us today.
Public comment. Notice this is a 4-minute time limit. This is to address items that do not appear on the agenda that fall under the purview of the Wastewater Committee. Is there any person in the audience who wishes to address the council this time?
I'd just like to know how much the flow was October 22nd into the sewer.
From the storm, you're saying?
Huh?
The storm water?
Into the sewer plant, how much the flow was.
Okay, all right, we'll have to get that information to you. Thanks, sir.
Day of storm.
Yeah, okay, got it. The day after, you might be. Anyone else?
That information is already available in the agenda packet for the meeting that's tomorrow night.
Okay, so that's in the agenda tomorrow night. All right, close public comment on to our regular agenda. Item number 5. Item 1, discuss and consider recommending to the City Council the city request proposals from qualified firms to conduct a wastewater rate study.
Thank you. Good morning. The council, as you know, in the past has discussed this issue. To date, the study has not actually ever been completed. So at this time, I am recommending that the council consider this in order to understand where we are in the rate structure of wastewater treatment plants in Northern California, and particularly in our, what we would call our area of comparables. Same that we would do for salary surveys, we would look at other regional plants to see where we are with our rate structure. We do know that our rates have not been raised in over 15 years. And so clearly we are falling behind in terms of just today's costs of doing business. We cannot possibly keep up based on the rate structure that we have. I did speak with some previous city managers for the city of Ione, and they had mentioned that firms were contacted to start the rate study. They just weren't ever fully engaged and they weren't hired. But there are plenty of firms that do this sort of work and do it very well. And so if this committee is of the same opinion, then we could bring it to the council in the second meeting in November to consider releasing the RFP to hire a firm to do the rate study. And they could do some other work for us as well, not just the rate study. So that's something else to consider. And just in terms of how we operate and some other related issues to the tertiary and the wastewater treatment plant.
The council actually approved the Nexus study.
Yes.
That would be something that we could tack on.
Update it. We have to update it. Though they wouldn't have to redo the whole thing, but they would have to just update the numbers.
But the same firm, we could use the same firm for both items?
Yes.
Okay.
They typically would do both, yes.
At cost savings.
Yeah.
I think too, with all the other changes going on, it's a good time to get that done. You'd be able to have cost estimate. I think you might have previously. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't want the rate study to drive the rate increase.
Yeah.
No, it will. A little.
I mean the rate study itself drive the actual rate increase.
Oh, no. It probably costs between
I mean, that's the real.
25 to 50,000, depending upon the scope of work. Yeah, but it will definitely be at least that much on the low end. Yeah.
That's kind of the irony. I mean, it costs a ton of money to do it, but it also almost necessitates a rate increase when you're done with it. It's just that kind of. Maybe there's something good,
Yeah, like the Nexus study and whatever else we can throw in there, get some cost savings.
Well, it's definitely time. I mean, the last rate increase, I'm not sure how that was done exactly, but we definitely need to do it right this time, so. I'll have a public comment. No? Okay. Well, I would recommend that
I'd say we
push it
recommend
to
it.
the council and
Yep.
have a full discussion. All right. Item number 2, discuss and consider recommending the city council let the city update its WDR permit with the Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Yeah, and so, staff of the city, that was Todd, the superintendent of public works, myself, our city engineer, previous city engineer, John Wanger, and our plant operator met with the Regional Water Quality Control Board staff on October 7th. Present from the state was Kenny Croyle, our main guy that does the inspections and enforcement. His boss, Howard Hold, and then Howard and Kenny's boss, Kerry Holmes, who is the supervising inspector, enforcer for the Sacramento Central Valley Regional Board. We discussed a number of issues, including the need to update the WDR permit because we are at capacity with our permit, and in order to go beyond that, we'd have to update it anyway. So we want to have more capacity. We have to have more capacity. We're still adding new homes, and they are adding to the capacity issue. So that was one issue. The other issue we discussed, and the reason that Todd is here is so he can give you the technical information regarding, and they've been asking us about this for a while, in terms of the sludge beds and how we manage that operation. And so we promised them that we would immediately make a change in how we do that, and that we would use, and talk and explain the technical jargon, that we would use, we wouldn't apply it to the land, we would haul it off in containers instead, and I'll let you sort of explain that in better technical terms.
So what we're going to do is fill in the sludge beds that are there right now, and we're going to get a dumpster from Aces that will have a liner in it, so when we do line cleaning maintenance, we can dump into that and then have it taken to a hazardous material waste site.
Sure. Okay. We have that identified already. I know we've taken plenty there over time, but yeah. That on site, we have that place located.
Yes, it's
I know we used it before, that's why I just.
Republic in Manteca.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
dealing with them right now
Okay.
on another issue of getting rid of some sludge that the Tersh plant creates.
Okay, very good. All right, I also know too that with that permit update, I just had a courtside conversation with AWA. It sounds like they also may be increasing their production as well too. And that will increase to the backwash and the other water, just something else to kind of toss in the, that increase there. Okay.
Are we also going to include the request to remove the cease and desist order as part of that process? Can we do
asked
both
them
at the same time?
Oh yeah, every time I talk to them, I've asked them about that.
But did we put it in writing yet?
Because that's the thing, the bar.
The water board put in writing that they're not gonna remove the CDO until we have a completely updated WDR permit.
Right.
Okay.
So what I'm hoping is, once the new permit is in place, the CDO goes away at the same time.
Very good. I mean, was this?
Which I think is fair. I mean, I get where they're coming from. They want us to update everything in the operations, and then if we do that and we meet all of their requirements to get an updated permit, the CDO should automatically, be part of that discussion.
And it's, I know over time, it seems like one of the little snags always seem to be change of staff on their end and our end. I mean, I've lived this for 11 years, I think. It's,
Yeah, it'd
every
be
time
nice
we
to get it out.
seem like we get to the bar and they're like, well, we gotta do this and gotta do that, or you don't have to do this, not to do that, and then we get yelled at for doing what we were already told not to do, or vice versa. It would be nice just to get that off our shoulders and get a little farther down off the radar.
Yeah, but our last readings from Echo Water show that, they're basically saying the iron manganese is naturally occurring. So why are we being continually held over with this CDO when there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, the levels
Shown the
change,
lighting,
they're not always the same. So sometimes the iron and manganese goes up and then it goes down, and they just look at the numbers and they don't really factor in that it's naturally occurring. They just look at the regulations and they say, oh, it's too high, you have to deal with it. So part of what we need to work through with them, hopefully, is that they understand that there are naturally occurring elements all over the state, not just iron and manganese, but chromium-6, if you can believe that, is actually naturally occurring in other parts of the state, and they've been very, very strict about that as well. So it's something that, to their credit, they've been very consistent about enforcing, but it becomes incredibly expensive for local, treatment plants.
I mean, I contacted McClintock's office years ago, just asking if there's any way to, I mean, getting a federal regulation adjusted is like nearly impossible, but I mean, the conversation I had with Regional years ago was that, I asked them point blank, yes, you came here? Me or who?
Yeah,
Oh, my
that's
voice is
better.
low, it's
Can
early.
you hear me? No?
The
Better?
I mean, I asked them years ago, are we harming anything? And the answer was no. It's largely discoloration and odor issue that falls out of the system just less than a mile downstream. And so I'm like, well, why are we spending millions of dollars to fight a ghost that doesn't harm anything? I mean, I asked them if we're killing crawdads or fish, what we're doing. And they're like, well, I'm like, well, it's a discoloration issue. It's all over the county, it's all over the state. I mean, and that was kind of that's something I don't think we can handle because it's a federal regulation. But at the same time, it's not doing anything truly harmful. It just doesn't look nice. It makes the creek look black. But I mean, I'm kind of ranting a little, I guess. But I mean, it's just frustrating because here we are,
Well, 12 years later, we're still sitting
still
here.
fighting something that's not harming the environment truly. Unless you don't like black rocks, I suppose. Maybe it's just,
Which we have very little control.
right, and that's the bigger issue, is that the appearance from all evidence would show that we are really truly not at blame for the pre-existing manganese. Now, if we were accused of mobilizing it was the original thing. Now it's kind of been the whole thing, but I don't think we're doing that either. And if we are, the earth itself mobilizes it, so I don't know.
Well,
It's just
EcoWater said in the last 2 reports, quarterly reports,
Yeah.
that it's not us. It's a natural occurring, it's not mobilized. The numbers are up and down depending on, what Mother Nature decides to do that day.
right. Well, the numbers are going down, I think, too. So
Yes, they have.
Yeah, over the longer haul, the numbers have been going down.
raise the bar in the process.
Yeah.
There's what are called primary characteristics, this is mostly for water treatment plants, that are absolutely enforceable. There are secondary characteristics that are things like odor, color, that are enforceable, but the water board has more discretion on how they enforce that.
Yeah.
And I think part of the discussions that we've been having is, why are you enforcing those like their primary, considerations? And I don't quite understand that yet. And we're talking about wastewater, not water, so there's a big difference. This is not a potable water system, nor should it be held to that standard. And on occasion, if you read some of the memos from the water board, they make it sound like it's a water treatment plant, but that's not what it is. Anyway, we met with them for several hours.
Okay.
We showed them drainage inlet pipes. We showed them all sorts of stuff on the golf course, and even in Castle Oak subdivision, we showed them naturally occurring artesian wells that come out of right off private property.
They're all over town, too, yeah.
Yes, and we've even built separate special drainages for those artesian wells on many properties in Castle Oaks to try and mitigate how that water is being drained. They were surprised to see that, and I think that was really good, that they got out in the field. We stuck their head down into a drain inlet and said, this is running all the time. This has nothing to do with the wastewater treatment plant. This is running from the subdivision. It's running from landscape irrigation runoff. It's running from artesian wells. It's running for all sorts of reasons, none of which have anything to do with the wastewater treatment plant. Hopefully they're convinced of that. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll deal with all of that when we update the permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I mean, if you went down grade of the plant, you wouldn't see change from the stream bed from one place to the next. That's why kind of my bigger thing, it's like, well, if this is an odor and an appearance issue, and there's no odor or appearance issue, then, you know, you're just testing for it. I get that, but I'm not trying to be antagonistic with them or anybody else. It's just, I just want to get out from underneath the CDO.
Yes, and we even did a dye test, and we even tracked where that exact wastewater that was dyed, where it went. And we concluded scientifically and without any doubt in our minds that the dye test proved that none of the wastewater was being discharged into the creek. And we've told the water board that. And we've done the dye test twice and have yet to find any water coming from lined ponds at the wastewater treatment plant going into the creek. There is no evidence whatsoever that that's occurring.
So they're, you read the tea leaves, but do you have any indication of maybe which way they're going to go? They seem like they're getting closer to letting us off the hook with all this? Or?
Well, I mean, I think it was a very good, positive meeting. I think they were very receptive to listening to what we had to say. The more facts and data and information we provide them, the more comfortable they become. They are scientists. So we need to be, you know, aware of that. John Wanger provided them all sorts of information the day we met with them, which was October 7th. They were very, very appreciative of that. There's a lot of data that they should have, but for whatever reason they don't. So we've provided them with all of those past documents. You know, the whole clarifier issue and all of that was in the WDRs that the water board issued to us, and they said they didn't have them, so we provided those. So you know, this is about trust, and it's about positive relationships. So I'm doing everything that I can with all of our staff to be cooperative and to provide them whatever information they need so that they can make good decisions. So I think it's gotten better. I think that relationship is getting better, and we're getting there.
Good. Well, it sounds like we're making progress. That's what we have to do. I guess, federal. Any other thing to...
And just, how long would it take to get the documents to them for the updated WDR? Are we talking about a month? Are we talking 6 months?
No, it's going to be in the 6 month to 1 year before the new permit can be issued.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for our piece of it, getting them what they need to do this, is it going to take you a couple of months to get that all?
The one piece of the updated permit would be connecting the tertiary plant to the water treatment plant. And I mean, we haven't done that yet, but we can provide them with the plans for that. So I believe we've sent them everything that they've asked for so far.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
Okay,
and
so
I know
they
like
have it, so.
Yes, they do, yes.
responsiveness is their big thing.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Public comment? Okay, thank you. Close public comments, yeah, then with that, we will consider recommending,
Agreed.
we'll recommend it to the
City council.
full council. Item 3, discuss and consider recommending to the city council that the city have a formal agreement with the CDCR MCSP for the acceptance of this wastewater from the tertiary plant.
So it's my understanding that we don't have a formal agreement, that, and just for the record and to be clear, we do have permission from the water board to accept the effluent from Mule Creek State Prison. They do compensate us for handling their wastewater, and they do compensate us fairly. But my understanding is there isn't any formal agreement that's been adopted formally by the city council that goes into enough detail in terms of, you know, what happens if this happens, what happens if that happens, and, you know, so I think we just need to put something together.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, let's just something to clarify it.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the exit of ARSA, they were part and parcel of.
And that's the other part of it,
That
yeah.
discussion and that piece of it, so I think if we're going to formalize it, we ought to.
Okay, and we did meet with the warden a few weeks ago, Dan and I did, so the prison's aware of this issue and they seem very cooperative, and we're willing to entertain a formal agreement.
Yeah, they're pretty responsive to staff overall from what I gather, talking to staff.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any public comment?
talk a little closer to the mic? It's,
Can you hear me?
is it turned on?
Can you help her with
How's that?
Hey, the on switch.
Gosh, I'm gonna start singing like Adele. Anyway, as I said, I'm the city manager for the city of Sutter Creek and the ARSA general manager. And I just wanted to point out that CDCR is not under WDR, ARSA is, and we're not intending on relinquishing any capacity that we already have on that WDR until the issues have been resolved. So to that point, while Ione sent the letter to ARSA saying that we need to be out of the tertiary treatment plant by June 30th of 2022, that does not fit with the WDR, which is the legal document that binds our ability to discharge capacity. So we are not intending on giving up any of our 300 acre feet or any of our capacity that's written in that legal document called the WDR. So I just wanted to make that clear because CDCR is not on the WDR, so even though they had permission as an emergency permission this last year, that's our WDR that we're a part of with you and Portlock. And I understand that Portlock, the city owns the golf course and how all those arrangements work. But again, we have a legal document, the WDR, which is ARSA's name on it and ARSA's ability to discharge. So I just want to make that very clear because that's something that our board will be pursuing. And anyway.
All right, thank you. Public comment? Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then, any direction from council?
I would say that we push this back up to council to discuss and regardless of what ARSA's current position is, I think we have to work forward with CDCR.
I work forward with the Regional Water Quality Control Board and
Mhm.
partners involved, move forward. Very good. All right, on to item number 4, update on the cost benefit analysis regarding the operation of the wastewater treatment plant and the treatment plant.
Yeah, I just wanted to not lose track of this. We talked about it back in May when I first started here, and I promised you that I would ultimately bring you a cost benefit analysis that explains what the fully loaded costs would be to continue to operate the way we are now with our current operator, a private operator, or as another alternative to do it in-house and what that would cost the city. So I have made progress on it. I've gotten about a third of the way through it. It is a fairly significant task, but I'm trudging through all of the detailed information, and progress is being made, and we will have something to look at
Okay.
soon, hopefully in the next month or two.
Very good. Yeah, that's a big project. Well, history-wise, everything else, it's good to have those numbers and to know what the costs actually are for both plants so we can charge appropriately going down the line. Yes, sir.
We've been asking for this for years, so it's good to see it's finally getting done.
And some is a function of the accounting part too. It's just,
And actually,
Well, not to mention our costs and our
Correct.
rate study.
yeah, and that's what I was just thinking too. When the consultant does the rate study and they compare it to other operations, they always want to compare apples to apples. Well, if someone else is operating in-house, you can compare that, but those costs are not going to be exactly the same. And so we may want them to consider, I can go through and finish my analysis of the cost benefit study, but maybe just have them review that rather than write the whole thing, because I've already started that. Have them consider that as part of the overall, what we ultimately will have to charge.
good. Okay, fair enough. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. With that, we are adjourned.